Ozzy. This wonderful relationship that has nothing to do with how attractive nobody cares about. So read it! Definition is just how small you are. But what we should be, what the American goal is. Yesterday, as of this recording, a YouTuber named King Critical responded to a 2-year-old video made by Cops Hate Mo, a video entitled How to Know If You're Non-Binary.
Of course, this is just my personal experience. There is no one way to be non-binary. You could go to another non-binary person, ask them how they knew they were non-binary, and they could give you a completely different story to what I'm going to give you.
So who's King Critical? King Critical is a gender-critical feminist Christian. Yes, I never thought I'd say all those things together. What is a gender critical? Well, a gender critical person is basically someone who holds the beliefs that your biological sex determines whether you are a man or a woman. Gender critical people are actually pro-gender non-conformity. They think that whether you are a man or woman does not determine how you dress or how you act or how you live. Now, am I myself gender critical? I wrote a very lengthy blog post about it if you want to, get to understand further. But to summarize, I am critical of gender, but I am not gender critical. As a Christian, I believe that God gave us gender roles within marriage and within the church.
I think there should be fewer expectations for gender.
But I don't think that the entire concept of gender should be destroyed. What King Critical mainly does is he argues with trans rights activists against gender identity, basically disproving gender identity over and over again in each video that he does. Now, who is Mo?
Hi, this is Editing Othniel here to tell you that I'm going to be using Mo's preferred pronouns of they, them.
Mo is a non-binary YouTuber who is a lot younger, who makes videos about the YouTube transgender wars, actually. I'm going to give you a brief history of the transgender wars from 2015 to now.
It's not comprehensive. There are probably better YouTubers who
could talk about this better.
Mo is also an ex-trans medicalist. Now, what is a trans medicalist? Well, as I mentioned in my previous video, Mo used to believe that you need gender dysphoria to be trans. Mo in fact believes himself to have gender dysphoria. We will discuss later in the video whether I think that Mo actually has gender dysphoria or not. Now, how did Mo,
gender dysphoric,
go from being a trans medicalist to being
all gender identities are equally valid?
Mo used to be a supporter of trans YouTubers Blair White and Calvin Guerra, who are a bit older than Mo. Blair also believed you need to have gender dysphoria to be trans. They are both trans medicalists who believe that you need gender dysphoria to be trans, and Mo used to support them. However, when Blair White and Calvin Guerra began getting a lot meaner in their videos and focused more on making fun of people rather than making cohesive arguments, Mo decided that they no longer supported these YouTubers and consequently no longer supported trans medicalism. Now, my thoughts on both these YouTubers. So I've watched some videos from both of these YouTubers and I think they're both very intelligent. I have never wanted to make a video response to either of them because I have such different...
No, because you're younger and dumber than both of them, you bolts.
With this most recent video, King Critical just did
such a bad job
that I really feel the need to make a video response to it.
Also, joke's on you, Michael, because now there's an 80% chance of Mo making a video response back to you and also exposing your entire channel.
I personally think that it was a good choice for King Critical to make a video response to Mo. Most of King Critical's video responses are to people
who don't really know what they're talking about.
I do think Mo does know what they are talking about.
Also, Mo, how dare you threaten to curb stomp my buddy Marcus? Hypocrite.
King Critical went into the video the exact same way he does with every single video response. He came with the argument that gender identity does not exist, and any attempt to prove gender identity exists is just sexist. And in doing so, he completely missed Mo's argument. So I'm going to set both of them straight, actually. So Mo claims to have gender dysphoria. When they begin their video, they say,
my experience sort of is quite heavily focused on dysphoria, unfortunately.
Why is this unfortunate? Well, because Mo does not want to be a trans medicalist. They do not think that you have to have gender dysphoria to be trans. So by having gender dysphoria, Mo kind of feels that they are betraying their community.
I just think that is very interesting, that Mo literally has to apologize for having a mental illness,
so that they do not upset their fan base.
Anyways,
as a kid, my family didn't really care about gender roles that much. I could kind of do whatever I wanted.
Not thinking about gender as a kid equals non-binary. And then, yeah, you mean everyone. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, obviously, most people don't have some kind of, like, critical lens with which they think about gender as a kid.
that is completely missing the point.
Hello. So I did some critical thinking and I have a better way to phrase what I wanted to say in the video. So had Mo said,
Oh, when I was growing up, my parents forced me to wear dresses and to act really girly.
King Critical would have been like,
Well, that makes sense. When conservative households push gender roles, then their gender non-conforming kids will come out saying that they are not a girl because they think that girls should all be very feminine.
but Mo already does not fit that stereotype. Mo grew up in a gender expansive household, so you would think that Mo would grow up being comfortable being a gender non-conforming girl. So Mo is trying to explain that
The reason I am non-binary is not because I was forced to be feminine as a girl. It is because of something else.
The second point Mo makes is that when they reached the age
That wonderful time in a girl's life where she experiences changes to her body.
I hated all the changes that were happening to my body. I hated them.
This is just internalized misogyny.
Okay, so I could see how you would get that if you think that girls do not like going through changes because it means they become women and then they become sexualized by men and they don't want that, so they hate their bodies as a result.
It is also incredibly common for young girls to feel discomfort around their body parts when they're changing.
They're thinking this discomfort is rooted in the fact that they are boys trapped in a girl's body, when actually the mismatch going on
It is because they have a child's brain but a young adult's body.
Mo never talks about being sexualized whatsoever. Mo never talks about gender roles being forced upon them. So there is no internalized misogyny involved. And I have a problem with you blaming body image issues on things like internalized misogyny.
I mean, it could happen, but most likely not this young, and this definitely does not sound like the case for
We're
Mo.
back, ladies and gentlemen. I had a bit of a costume change and I also altered the lighting a bit to make the video more interesting. I left to do some errands, and let's just say
It's incredibly easy to shorten your doctor's physical exam by just saying,
I'm fine.
okay, where were we?
This is sort of side tangent, but I had a group of girls
A tangent in your video? I won't stand for such things.
come up to me, right? And they verbatim said to my face, yeah, sorry Mo, we just can't be friends with you because we think you're gay.
Sounds like every LGBT girl growing up. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. But to be fair, I mean, I don't know whether or not, like, this person, you know, I don't know what this person's sexuality is. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I always find it weird when, like, somebody's obviously gay.
A
Like,
lot of King Critical's argument seems to stem mostly from the live chat. But it does seem that King Critical is agreeing that Mo's gender nonconformity could be due to being gay, when who you are attracted to and how you like to dress, while there is often a correlation that should not be the immediate conclusion that you reach.
I like women. And then I sort of was looking at the TV and I was looking at the dude on the TV and I went, you're fine.
Mo may have just naturally been bisexual, or Mo may have internalized people around them telling them that they were gay, which is more likely. Mo mentions developing a crush on a girl, but it is also possible that May might have never developed feelings had they not been introduced to the idea that they might be gay. As I mentioned, it could be natural, but it was very likely influenced by their peers. This is very similar to a friend of mine. When she went to high school, a lot of the kids around her said, oh, you have gay energy, are you gay? And she began internalizing that because everyone around her seemed to assume she was. So she began doing research and, looking at pictures of, girls with each other to see, do I like that? And then later came out as pansexual. And then she came to the conclusion that she is actually not pansexual and internalizing what people around her were saying. I was listening to a podcast with J. Michael Bailey, who was talking about how different psychosexual tests were taken on males and females to see how they both responded to
Adult content.
women. Responded the exact same way for both straight adult content and lesbian adult content, suggesting that all females have the capability to be bisexual, and I can kind of see that. I have noticed a lot of girls who either never had a boyfriend or who had a bad experience with a boyfriend develop a crush on a female friend or come out as bisexual or pansexual. But again, that is an interesting social and biological theory to be explored.
Okay, so my last point.
At this time, I was still really confused with my gender. I was shaving my head, dyeing my hair, perming my hair at an alarming rate, just sort of
Just all of the hair. On some level, I think my hair is growing right now, so I'm gradually becoming. Just my gender is changing right now. Sometimes my gender changes dramatically when I cut it, but yeah.
It's really annoying, King Critical, how, like, the entire video was talking about gender dysphoria, and you completely dismiss that, and all you do is talk about gender expression. When Mo knows the difference between gender expression and biological sex, Mo had a problem with their biological sex, not their gender expression. And that didn't make Mo feel any better either. Mo was not saying, I'm going to cut my hair differently depending on what gender I feel. Eventually, Mo came to the conclusion that they were uncomfortable in their body. It was a gender dysphoria thing, or body dysmorphia thing.
So let's talk about this. So I actually do think that Mo does have gender dysphoria now. However, I don't think Mo started out with gender dysphoria. I think Mo was a lot like me. I think Mo started out with body dysmorphia because Mo was originally fixated around the chest area.
An obsessive anxiety about certain aspects of your body with a desire to change them.
However, when the trans guys talk about all the other aspects they have a problem with, like the structural frame of their body, their voice, the way that society sees them, Mo began thinking a lot more how they felt about the rest of their body and how they wanted society to perceive them as well. I think that led Mo to not just hyperfixate on not liking their chest, but now thinking about their entire gender presentation and what kind of gender body they want to have. I still think that Mo is probably the best example of someone talking about what it means to have non-binary dysphoria, where you actually think that your body is not the right gender or the right sex.
But instead of wanting a male body, you want a sort of masculine neuter body?
I don't think gender dysphoria is just male to female or female to male. I think it could be, you know, thinking that you should be neuter or thinking that you should be intersex. I get very frustrated when people like Marcus Dib Jensen.
When I was younger and looking in the mirror, I could not see myself. As soon as I started going through puberty and getting a chest and getting hips and looking just more feminine in my body, I would spend hours a day looking in the mirror, trying to figure out what was wrong and trying to fix how my body looked and trying to make myself look more neutral.
It concerns me that someone would ever have the desire to make their bodies gender neutral. To me at least, I can't wrap my head around why.
That's a cop-out. You can't use anecdote as a reason against why you don't think non-binary dysphoria exists. Isn't that the problem with you? That people can't wrap their head around why you as a female would want to look male. I think that Mo had body dysmorphia that developed into gender dysphoria because it was not addressed right away.
King Critical.
That is where you failed.
Now I'm going to be talking about where you actually got things right. Well, first I'm going to talk about one thing you seemed very confused about. So in the comments in the live chat, somebody mentioned gynecomastia, and you didn't know what that meant, and the person responded, it's male, it's the male.
Oh, man boobs. You mean like massive pecs?
No.
Gynecomastia is breast tissue in males. It is a common effect of the andropause when your testosterone levels are low. It's a common symptom of Klinefelter syndrome where males have more estrogen. Okay, now let's talk about what you got right.
I need top surgery. Like, I'm never gonna be happy with, like, that part of my body unless I get top surgery. You know, like, I just hate it. I hate it so much.
Like that, this is a pretty obvious thing that actually exists. What's confusing then, in this case, is the decision to characterize this as part of who you are as a person.
To reach the point where you think that part of your body does not belong on you. Because that isn't healthy. And that's why you get right, King Critical.
I'm sorry to sound like a radical Christian at this point, but, you know, what did you expect coming to my channel? I think that Mo's journey of, you know, experimenting with clothing, experimenting with gender expression, gender identity, sexual orientation, and trying to figure out who they are, I think while that is heavily influenced by body dysmorphia or gender dysphoria, I do think that there is something spiritual going on. Every human has a hole in his heart that can only be filled by a relationship with the Holy Spirit. And if you reject God, you reject fulfillment from your life, and you will be spending the rest of your life trying to fill that void in your heart. And I think that in part is related to the atheism. And I've seen this with other atheists as well. Not every atheist. Some atheists seem to be like mentally fine. It does seem to be pretty common with atheists, not just with gender, but with, you know, lifestyle choices and other things. As you find that you are being denied clinic after clinic after clinic, and you are now trying to raise money for private surgery, God loves you, and he is trying to get your attention. He tries to get everyone's attention. But sometimes he puts more effort into getting the attention of some rather than others. And I think he is trying to get your attention to show you that this is not fulfilling, and that the only fulfillment you will have is in a relationship with him. And, you know, you said you're a massive atheist. I'm sure you've done your own research and come to the conclusion that God is not for you. But I encourage you to look again, this time with an open mind. This time recognizing his love for you, and that's not religion that will save you, but believing that his son died to take away your sins, and to recognize his love for you. So now the necessary apologies are in order. I'm sorry if I misrepresented you, I'm sorry if I offended you, I'm sorry if I came across as too harsh or too flippant. I really do like both of you. King Critical, I generally agree with your conclusions more than Mo, but Mo, I still think you are also very intelligent. You're
Both way smarter than me.
And, you know, I, having more subscribers than both of you, decided that it was up to me to set you both straight. So thank you guys so much for 69 subscribers. I got like 8 since last week. I'm really blowing up. Okay, bye. I'm leaving.